Hey, everybody! Welcome to Mac to the Future. Warren isn't here this week because he made the correct decision to spend time with his wife out in California instead of being online here with me, and I completely agree with that decision. Before we get started, real quick, wanted to say that we lost someone very near and dear to probably most of us that follow tech and follow science and things along those lines. Stephen Hawking, who died today, is going to be missed by a lot of people. And the fact that a man diagnosed with a disease that is typically fatal for most people that get it within 3 or 4 years was diagnosed with this disease in 1963. 1963, and lived over 50 years with this disease hanging over his head. It'll be a long time before someone of his caliber comes along again, and he'll be sorely missed. But to get away from the doom and gloom, for those of you who have followed my adventures with the old Mac Pro, I gave that computer to my son Peter, and of course it included the graphics card that I had bought for it, the 4 gigabyte GTX 980 graphics card, and pulled the 2 terabyte SSD out of it, which I still have here someplace, and all the other drives that I had, pulled all those drives out, put them in an enclosure for myself so I wouldn't lose any content, and put a 2 terabyte and a 4 terabyte drive that was pretty much blank in there. And I figured I would just do the online thing where you get the operating system holding down, Option R and all the rest of that when you boot, and it just didn't work. And I have spent the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, going down to where my son Peter lives. It's about, depending on traffic, it's somewhere between 45 minutes and 4 hours to get there. Yeah, traffic is like that. And we tried all kinds of things. I mean, I finally broke down last week, and I took it to a Mac repair shop that's down there, and I don't want to say who they are, not because that they didn't do a good job and that they weren't professional, that they weren't able to find the problem, but I understand why they couldn't find the problem. And it's partially my fault, of course. So what I did today was I took my old video card, which was only a 1 gig card, and took that down there, plugged it in, and it worked. Everything worked like it was supposed to. And I was like, okay, well, this means that either the card is bad, and I was really hoping that wasn't the case, or there was some other outlying thing that was the issue. And like I said, the local Mac repair shop kept trying different things and different drivers from NVIDIA, and nothing was working. So once I realized that it was working fine with the old card, I started to look at these 2 cards. Now, this was a 5770 card, which is a 1 gigabyte card from AMD, I believe, as compared to the GTX 980 with 4 gigabyte card. The only difference that I could find, other than the amount of video RAM that each had, was that the 5770, besides plugging into the PCIe, a PCIe slot on the motherboard, also had this one cable that came off of a connector on the motherboard that had plugged into the card to supply some more voltage, whereas the GT980X needed 2 of them. So it's like, okay, well, let's look at these cables. And I looked at the first one, the one that was plugged into the old card that was working fine. Not a problem. Pulled the second cable, and sure enough, I meant to bring it in here with me, but I don't have it. It's just a black cable with like 6 pins on either end. One of the pins on the connector that went onto the board was like pushed off to the side, and we tried to kind of repair it. Wasn't working. So I went back to the aforementioned local Mac store and asked them if they had one of these cables, because I figured, okay, well, all I need to do is just replace this cable. And they said, well, they didn't have one, but what they did have was a single cable off the motherboard that went to, two different positions. And these two positions on the Mac Pro, I believe power for them runs in parallel. So as long as the cable was going into both places and was expecting power, there should be enough amperage to power the card without there being a problem. So I went ahead and I got this cable. It was like $15. Got this cable, got back to where Peter and his girlfriend live, put the new card in, connected the cable, and prayed, because I really just don't want to screw with this damn computer anymore. And it booted up. It booted up. I was able to get the latest driver from NVIDIA. It's long number 161, something like that was the last bit of it. And everything just worked. So now the Mac Pro that I used to use, my son Peter is using, and he's enjoying the hell out of it. He was on a 2010 iMac, Core 2 Duo iMac, with I think it's like a 256 or a 512 video card. He's going from that to a 4 gigabyte GTX 980, and Left 4 Dead 2 runs like nobody's business. So he's delighted, and all the stuff that he does with all the stuff that he does with movies and all the rest of that is working just fine. And Brian just said, yeah, make sure you the moral of the story is check your cables. That is very, very true. Always check the cables. All right. Let's see. He also said, sounds like an incompatible video card with the version. No, the card was fine. You could get that computer with a GTX 980 card. The problem was probably all along was this cable, and I got it to work when it was here, but I think it may have just been making that connection. And then once I started moving things around, it was just like, yeah, I'm not going to work anymore. And so I decided not to work. So we've got a couple things. Also, last weekend, I know I'm kind of going all over the place here. Last weekend, I did a live cast with Gaz Maz from the MyMac.com podcast, and you can hear the audio on the latest MyMac.com podcast, number 698, I believe. But we also had Barry Falk and we had Mike Potter, who were the two guys that are the main focus behind the Macstock Conference and Expo, which will be held, of course, July 21st and 22nd in Woodstock, Illinois. There's basically if you wanted to go for the entire weekend, the cost of a ticket is like $249. Early bird discount and a special discount available for Mac to the Future viewers, MTTF. Oh God, I'm going to blow this. MTTF. Let me see if I've got it written down here. I don't think I do. Oh, yes, I do. MTTF bonus 10, the number 10. MTTF bonus 10 will get you another $10 off. So instead of paying $249, you're paying $169. So that's $80 off the main, a ticket for the entire weekend. And really, other than breakfast, and if you're at a hotel that has like a hot breakfast bar, you won't even have to buy food starting Friday night. You've got the speaker's dinner Friday night. You've got lunch on both days, Saturday and Sunday. You've got the dinner on Saturday night. So, by the time the whole thing is over with on Sunday night, you will have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meals that you haven't had to pay for. So what's holding you back? Check it out, Macstock, Conference and Expo.com. Check out the tickets there. Now, let's see what else we got. There was something kind of weird that happened last week. There was an application called Calendar 2 that was on the Mac App Store. And the thing that made it kind of odd isn't so much the application or the Mac App Store. It's that you could use this application for free if you agreed to allow them to run a Bitcoin miner from within the program when you were running it. and unfortunately there was some kind of bug in the program itself, and instead of just running when you were running the program, it was running all the time, pegging your CPU at 200%. Apple pulled the application out. The developer, Cubix, jumped on it immediately, pulled that out of the program. So you can't get the program completely for free where it's fully featured anymore, but it doesn't have the Bitcoin miner in it either. So, I don't know. It just seems like that was kind of a weird thing to have happen. And, usually Apple is really, really good at pulling apps that are doing these kind of weird things. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Apple as to their particular their feelings on Bitcoin miners related to applications that they sell in a Mac App Store. It seems to me that any program that's kind of running a link outside of Apple's ecosphere is something that they're not going to be all that really, really happy about. So if you own Cubix's Calendar 2 application, I don't know if it's still in the Mac App Store. You may want to check with Cubix to make sure that you're running the latest version that doesn't have this Bitcoin miner in it. Now, one more thing before I take a little break here. Apple has announced the dates and place for the Worldwide Developers Conference for 2018. It's going to be held in San Jose, June 4th through the 8th, and developers who are interested in going to the Worldwide Developers Conference need to kind of get their names in there now. This thing always sells out, and it's a little pricey, but most people that go to this seem to be pretty happy about it. It's nothing that I've ever done because I'm not a developer, and while it would be a blast, especially now that the Macworld Expo, of course, is no more, to go to an official Apple event and hear from developers and hear from the engineers of Apple and kind of see what it is that they're doing next. But you know what? I just can't pull the kind of scratch that I would have to spend to go to an event like this. And I'm certainly not high enough up on the totem pole to be comped a ticket to this event, not to mention the hotels and transportation and everything else that's out there. When I was going to the Macworld Expo with mymac.com, I went for the last 7 years that the expo was around. And for 3 of those years, we had sponsors. So they paid for the tickets, they paid for our hotel, they kind of comped us for our food and all the rest of that. Everything else we were doing, of course, was on us, but it really helped in getting out to that area. California, especially the largest cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, all these places, San Jose, none of these places are very cheap to stay in. San Francisco especially was just brutal. So if anyone knows anyone in Apple and they can kind of give that little push that, yeah, we know this guy, he's got a live cast that has a certain number of people that watch it, then maybe I can get out there and do this thing. I would love to go to the Worldwide Developers Conference. All right. I believe we're going to take a little break here. This is probably going to be a much shorter show since I'm by myself. And so everyone, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Yeah. Whoops. That should.
This is Private Eye Macintosh, and I'm here to tell you about a book written about me and my search for the Maltese Cube. Yes, it's a fine book. I think you should get it. Quiet, you. It combines technology, Mac trivia, action, murder, suspense. Oh, just tell them where to get it. I'll get to that. Romance, film noir detective fiction. I can't stand it anymore. It's called The Maltese Cube, and it was written by my Mac writer and podcaster Guy Searle. Find it on Amazon. It's only $2.99 and coming soon to the Apple's iBook store. Don't forget, it's The Maltese Cube and so inexpensive. You know you're not in it, right? I'm in the next one, right? Sure thing, Louis. You know, this could be the start of a beautiful friendship. Get The Maltese Cube on Amazon and soon in the iBook store.
Okay, we're back. God, I cannot wait until Ecamm can like put some delays in there and some transitions and stuff, because just going right from one particular little graphic or little movie or ad or whatever right back to the camera, and it just cuts everything off. There's no transition at all, and that is if I had one complaint about Ecamm Live, and I'm sure if I really thought about it, I could think of some others, but generally I'm pretty happy with this program. But that's one thing that really just kind of pisses me off. But what are you going to do? A couple things I wanted to ask you guys about. It is solid. Yeah, Frank is just saying it is solid. It is very solid. I've got these little logo things. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. I got one there, and I got one over here. It looks like I've still got some artifacts in the Mac to the Future one, so I need to clear those out. But I do like the fact that I can just kind of throw this stuff up wherever I want, and it just works. So that makes me happy. Last thing I want to talk about tonight is Apple Music. Now, they just announced, Apple Music just announced that they're at about 38 million paying customers as compared. Now, Spotify has over 70 million premium subscribers, and I don't know how much each of them are paying for a premium Spotify subscription. But according to the article that I was reading, essentially Spotify is still growing, but it's growing at a much slower pace than Apple Music is. And somebody at Cult of Mac, where I got this story, did a little bit of math, and they figured that if the rate of growing customers continues, then Apple could catch up to Spotify by this summer. And I don't really think that that's a concern for Apple, as long as they're showing steady growth with Apple Music. I don't think it really bothers them too much what other companies are doing. So that's my take on that. Brian Monroe just mentioned, and I will throw it up here. Yeah, I will talk about texture. I don't really have anything that is in my show notes for it, but something that happened that kind of ticked me off. There was a story, and the way I saw this wasn't on the typical tech news sites that I follow. It was on CNN. And I did put something in Facebook about this. Basically, CNN was saying that Apple buying Texture, which is the Netflix of publishing, and what Texture, in essence, is it's a bunch of different magazines that you subscribe to. Now, by magazines, I mean digital magazines or digital versions of print magazines. And for X number of dollars per month, I don't really know what it is, you could get all these magazines, subscribe to all these magazines. And apparently Apple bought them. I don't really know why Apple would buy Texture. I just don't know if content related to magazines and the magazine format is still really a thing that's going to have growth, and whether that growth is in the Dead Tree version, which they're all going away, or whether the growth is going to be in the digital version of these magazines, it's really kind of hard to say. We're still in the transition between physical books, physical newspapers, physical magazines, for that matter, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays. These are all going away. All this stuff where you have physical media, and you get your magazine, you get your newspaper, you get a CD or a DVD, and you watch the movie, you read the news, you read this magazine, and then you put it on a shelf or you recycle it. Those days are going away. They're going away. And most people, especially the next generation coming up, which is kind of weird for me to say that because I'm 58 years old, so yeah, it's not like I'm this young hipster that's just coming up. Yeah, man, I get all my stuff digitally. I don't get any of that stuff that's you have to pick it up and you have to flip pages. Yeah, I don't do nothing of that. Yeah, that's not me. I'm an old guy, and I grew up with newspapers and magazines and records, which are, for one weird reason or another, is making kind of a comeback. All of this stuff is it's just changing. It's changing all the time. The transition from physical media for music, what it was kind of weird because in a lot of ways that almost happened overnight, where you had CDs and all these record stores, and you could, geez, you could still go and buy cassettes of whatever your favorite music is. And then it seemed like almost overnight with iTunes and some of the other services that the record stores all disappeared, and then music CDs all pretty much disappeared. And what I'm hearing about now is that the last few remaining places that you can buy these things, Walmart and Target and Best Buy and a few other stores, they're basically dumping it because there's just no profit in it anymore. For the most part, people aren't buying it. They're subscribing to services to get unlimited music, to get unlimited. There's this service called Movies Anywhere, where it doesn't matter where you get your movies from, whether it's Sony or Apple or Microsoft or any place that has a digital store that sells video content and is part of this service. You can watch them anywhere on any of your devices, and it doesn't matter what particular company it was from. And it when I heard that Apple was joining this, I have to say it surprised the heck out of me. It just didn't seem like a company with Apple's history would be willing to jump on a bandwagon for a service that would allow other people's content that they didn't buy from Apple, to be able to be seen and consumed in the same kind of app that you can consume iTunes music and movies and TV shows. And the only thing I can think of is maybe they were kind of pushed into it by some of the big companies that Apple licenses all of this content from. I don't recall when that all happened of anyone actually saying so, but that's the only explanation I can think of with a company like Apple. And texture is kind of, I think, the last gasp for things like Time Magazine and Newsweek and Playboy and Harper's Weekly, whatever so many of these magazines that were like standard that your parents got, and then as you, not necessarily you, but people my age grew up, that Publishing Clearinghouse, we'd get 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 different magazines at a relatively cheap price, and maybe we'd keep subscribing to them as time went on. But the magazine format, where people are putting together stories, putting together articles, putting together pictorials, I mean, all of this stuff, it's kind of going away. Everything has to be right now. The Snapchats of the world where you're taking your pictures and putting them up, Facebook, Twitter, all these places. It's all just based on what's going on right this very minute. And you talk about something that happened a week ago, they're like, oh, why are you talking about that? What difference does it make anymore? Let it go. This Kardashian just had a new outfit, or God only knows what people are interested in as far as this kind of content goes anymore. But it's certainly not, some a reporter going to war-torn Syria, or people starving in northern Africa or whatever, and spending time and developing a story and getting feedback and putting together an article that is factual, that is well put together, because by the time it comes out, it just doesn't seem to matter anymore. People don't care. Maybe it's me, and maybe it's my age, but I just don't understand that kind of short attention span. Anyway, if someone can explain it to me, I would love to hear it. Now, I talked a little bit about it a little while ago, but I'm going to give you one more pitch for it before I close out for the evening. Macstock 2018, fourth year. It's going to be the 21st and 22nd of July in Woodstock, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago, at the McHenry County College in Crystal Lake, Illinois. The Conference Center. This is a beautiful conference center with really great acoustics. The people at the community college really, really go out of their way to make people feel welcome, to get the tech out there so that people can bring in their presentations. And the focus this year for the Macstock Expo is going to be productivity, except for certain things like Tim and I, we're doing the MyMac quiz like we did last year. We're kind of changing it up a little bit, and I'm not going to tell you here exactly how we're changing it up, but it is going to be, if you saw it last year, you remember how much fun we had with it. This year, it's going to go through the roof. We're bringing in more people. We're bringing in, the questions are going to be different. The way their answers, everything's changing with the MyMac quiz this year. The one thing that hasn't changed is it's still going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you go to max.conferenceandexpo.com. Check out the ticket prices. Come stay for the weekend. Meet me, meet Tim, meet Allison Sheridan, meet all of the great speakers that are going to be there. By the way, keynote speaker this year, Bob Levitas. Dr. Mac, Bob Levitas is going to be the keynote speaker this year, which if you've never met Dr. Mac, if you've never met Bob, he's a great guy, and he's always has interesting things to say. He's written many, many books on tech, and you really don't want to miss this. This is going to be so much fun. So instead of the $249 that you would have to pay if you were at the door, or once all the specials have gone away, forget the $249. Just don't even think about that. The early bird price is going to be $179. $179. So that right there, $70 off. Plus, you can get another $10 off by using the coupon code MTTF bonus 10. MTTF bonus 10 will get you an additional $10 off. $80 off the regular price, down to $169 for the entire weekend. That includes both days of the conference. That includes the deeper dives. That includes the Mac swap. That includes the Midwest Mac mingle on Saturday night. The speakers dinner. Well, it's not really a speakers dinner, but it's all the speakers and everyone who has purchased a weekend pass for the conference. There's nothing extra that you have to buy. Nothing. You'll get a coffee mug. You'll get a T-shirt. You'll get all kinds of stuff. Mike is kind of pulling out all the stops when it comes to the swag. Now, you won't get this hat. You won't get a hat, but you can purchase a hat. And as I recall, on the form that you fill out, they actually ask if you want a hat. And if you want a hat, I don't even know what the price is, but it's going to be probably 15, $20, something like that. But this is a nice quality hat. This, the logo, this isn't a sticker. This is embroidered into the hat. It's just friggin' great. Yeah. No, Frank, I'm sorry. They will not be sending everybody a Lamborghini. So no, they're just not going to do that. Cletus, you really, really should go. I see that okay. Well, Cletus is going. Frank is going. I hope so many more of you out there are going to go. It's really, this is going to be so much fun. So I don't really even know what else I can say about that. It's just go. Check it out. Macstock, Conference and Expo.com. Look at the speakers that are there. Think about all the great times that are going to be had. If you've ever gone to the Macworld Expo and felt that sense of community with your fellow Mac heads, that's what this is. It's that without all the iPhone card or iPhone case makers and the little itty bitty vendors of various things. Hardly any of that is there. It's all about getting together with your fellow Mac users and just having a really, really good time. Now, like I said, Warren is not here this week to keep me in check, but you can find him over on the Mac to the Future Facebook page, and which of course I'm also there. You can also reach me, Guy. My email address is guy@mttfgo.com. You can find me over on the Twitters, Mac Parrot. That is my name there on Twitter. We have a Skype telephone number, 703-436-9501. Call that number. We will play your comments here on the air. I think that's going to be about it this week. Thanks everyone for showing up this week. I know I'm seeing comments here that people aren't able to see this, which is weird because I have it open to everybody. I don't know why you can't see it. You should be able to see it on the regular Facebooks as well as the Mac to the Future site. That is something that I need to look into to see why that's not happening. But I do appreciate the fact that all of you have come to spend some time with me and all these great comments. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And we're going to see you next week. I will be on next week. I don't know if Warren is going to be back by then. If he isn't, then I'll get Brian or somebody else to come on in and kind of keep me in check. Plus, part of the reason why I'm by myself, I just got home probably about an hour and a half ago from my son's house fixing the Mac Pro. So there really wasn't a whole lot of time to take care of things. Are you going to be fed? I mean, at the Macstock Conference and Expo? Yes, you will. Will you be fed if you guest host on this show? No, you will not. Your food is on your own. That's not my problem. Eat before you come on the show. Eat before you come on the show. If you are going to the Macstock Conference and Expo, let me know in some of the various ways, and because I'm going to be there sometime on Thursday. I believe sometime on Thursday. So if you want to get together apart from the conference on Thursday, maybe Friday, because I may have some things that I need to do on Friday to get ready for the conference, let me know, and certainly we can arrange something so that we can all get together and have a good time apart from the conference and everything else. So that is going to do. I keep saying this. That is going to do it for this evening, and I believe I shall see you all. Maybe. Let's see what's going on here. I'll see you all. Where is it? I can't find the. Oh, there it is, right there. See you all next week.